Hey everyone, welcome to week 11 in media writing. This week we're going to be talking about writing for television commercials. This is going to be very similar than how you wrote for a radio commercial, only now you have the extra task of figuring out what is actually going to be on screen. Just like for radio commercials, there's a template you'll be able to fill out, but make sure you're very specific on what you want the visuals to be. Don't be vague, don't leave anything up to my imagination. Be specific on what you think should be on screen when your copy is being read. But before you begin, there's a few things I want you to take into consideration. Things I want you to think about before you even start writing your television commercial. First, think about having a single, strong, core message. What you want the one thing people to remember after seeing this spot. Once you've got that figured out, everything else you write, every word, every sound effect, every visual item you put into the script, everything should point towards that single core message. Second, when you're thinking about your copy, don't write to impress, write to communicate. You want to be able to get that single core message across effectively. And the last thing to remember to include is a clear call to action. What do you want people to do after they've seen this commercial? And how can you get that message across subtly so they don't feel like they're being preached to? And make sure it's one thing. The more things you tell people to do, the less likely they'll do any of them. Don't tell them to go to a website and call a phone number and an email address and come to your store. Don't do that. Pick one thing and point them in that direction. Now for some more advice on writing TV commercials in the real world, here is our next guest speaker. He is a marketing producer, a veteran in the field out of Cedar Rapids. This is Scott Chrisman.
Hi, I'm Scott Chrisman. I was a commercial and promotions producer for nearly 10 years for a variety of businesses and a television station. Here are my tips for writing TV commercials. First, always be flexible. Allow for the production to have some happy accidents. Have a plan, but leave some space to roll with what comes in the moment of production. Always remember who's paying. They have the final say. Whether an internal or external client, they're the one paying the bills for this to happen. So what do they want? They may not always be right in their own concept, but they are holding the checkbook. Listen to what they want and need. If they're well informed, listen hard. If not, can you politely offer them a better idea? Are they persuadable on their idea? Ultimately, you must fulfill the client's desires, even if they're at the expense of your own great idea. If they do leave it up to you, great, but be respectful of their brand and their audience. If they insist on their way, then execute as best you can. What are the must-haves? What content has to be included here? Dates, prices, names, event info, showtimes? What has to be in it? Start with those pieces, then get creative around it. Write your spot to the requirements, but also to the limitations. The big one is time. How much do you have? It's impossible to write, produce, and edit a feature film-level spot in 24 hours. What can you actually accomplish in the time you're allowed for production? Be realistic when writing it from the start. Also, is the client going to star, or will you have a professional voiceover or actor? This can be a big difference and change what's possible. Have one clear idea. Don't pack it full of text. It's not a speed reading contest. An announcer I used to work with always said, go into the bathroom and shout your script as loud as you can. If you can still hit the length, that's the right amount of words. Does the script serve the idea? Creativity is great, but it needs to have a message that's easily understood quickly, in 30 seconds, maybe only 15 or 5. Be brief, be clear. A great idea is wonderful, but it has to appropriately fit the message and the brand. Is it easy to understand the clear action you want them to take? Think of ones you know that worked, ones that didn't. How come? Super Bowl commercial hits and misses are often good examples of these. Bonus points if you can wrap that idea in a feeling. Finally, it needs to have a clear call to action. What do you want people to do? Buy, watch, attend, call us? If it looks great, sounds great, even has a fun story, but doesn't communicate, then it ultimately fails, and the client's not happy because the core message is lost. Good luck, and happy writing.
Thank you for that, Scott. There was a lot of great information in that. All right, so here's your writing tip for the day. It's something that probably should be common sense, things you probably should know, but maybe let's just talk about it in case some of you aren't following this rule. You always need to think about the basics of spelling, punctuation, grammar, and capitalization. Even if it's things in a script that someone's going to read and maybe the audience will never know that you didn't capitalize these words or didn't put punctuation here, It's still in the script and someone's going to see it. If it's your voiceover person, if it's a client, if it's a boss, somebody's going to see that you're not taking the time to focus on the stage 1 basic stuff. And definitely if it's being sent off to a voiceover person, you don't want any miscommunications on that part because you forgot to put in a comma or a period. They're not reading the sentence right because you didn't punctuate something correctly. You capitalized the wrong letter. And now you're wasting time because you have to have it sent back to them and they have to send it back to you. You're wasting time doing revisions because you didn't take the time to focus on the basic stuff. So proofread, proofread, proofread. Capital letters go at the beginning of sentences. Go at the beginning of important words at the title. Going at the beginning of proper nouns. You don't randomly capitalize words in the middle of a sentence. At the end of a sentence, we have punctuation marks, question marks, exclamation points, periods. If you're listing things, include commas. I'm not even going to sweat about Oxford commas. That's a whole different thing. So yeah, take the time, be professional in your writing no matter who you think's going to see it. All right, that's all I have for you guys. I look forward to reading the scripts for your TV commercials. I hope you enjoy writing them, and I'll see you next time.